Hi friends, thanks for tuning in. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I discovered Lolita fashion. And this video is also part of a collaboration several other Lolita YouTubers are doing on this same topic. So if you'd like to check out the other videos, please make sure to follow the link up in the corner here, or you can also find it in the description of this video. So I've actually known about Lolita fashion for quite a while. I think around 2008 or 2009 is when I actually first saw it and I saw people wearing it. I used to go to anime conventions and I remember there were some Lolitas once in a blue moon at the cons that I went to. And I remember the very first Lolita that I saw in person, she was wearing just a blouse and then a metamorphose skirt, but I thought it was really cute. And I distinctly remember the meta skirt because it was just so colorful and it had a bit of poof to it. And I just wasn't really used to seeing this type of fashion at all. So we talked for a little bit and she mentioned that the fashion was called Lolita, and so I kind of remembered that. And then the next time I saw a Lolita, which was actually at the next convention that I went to, she was wearing a very sweet OTT coordinate, and I remember she had a split pastel wig and she had like a candy floss style one, so it was teased and it was very voluminous, and she was wearing a older angelic pretty print and I thought she looked fantastic. So I also approached her and talked to her a little bit about what she was wearing, and she was also really nice too. She talked to me for a little bit about it, and I remember that's kind of how I fell in love with Sweet, was seeing it in person one of the first few times that I did see it. Fast forward to about a year later, there was a Kinokuniya bookstore near my house and I would usually go there to buy some imported magazines or manga, and I remember that I saw on one of the covers was some girls wearing Lolita fashion, and I remembered from seeing Lolitas at the other conventions that I went to, I picked up the book. It was a Gothic and Lolita Bible, and I paged through it and I was just entranced at how many Lolita coordinates there were and how many different styles there were. I remember in this GLB there was tons and tons of AP releases, and there were also some baby releases, but I was just really drawn to the Sweet sub-style, specifically AP. I really liked how the models' hair and their makeup along with their very cute vivid coordinates looked. So I would go to that bookstore once in a while, and I would also check out the GLBs that they got as well as the Kara magazine. Eventually I did buy a few copies of the GLB, and for years I would just page through them, and I just kept telling myself, like, well, you know, you really like the clothes that are in this magazine, why don't you just start to wear it eventually? It was just kind of this lofty goal, but I knew in the back of my mind that eventually I would love to wear this fashion. It did take some time before I actually bought my first Lolita pieces, and this is because when I first discovered it, I was still in school and I wasn't working quite yet. I did get a job in high school, but a lot of that money was going into my college fund and towards car insurance and my car payments, so I didn't have a ton of expendable money until after I graduated. Fast forward to 2014 when I finally graduated college and I found a job in Northern Virginia, so I packed up and I moved out there and I started working right after college. So at this point, when I was getting a stable income, I noticed that I had some money left over from each of my paychecks, but I decided that there were some hobbies I kind of wanted to pursue and try out, and Lolita was one of them. I did a lot of research during this time. I was checking to see what items I would need to put together a full coordinate, and the first items I ended up buying were some jumper skirts and one pieces, and I also bought shoes and bloomers and socks. So I didn't have quite enough to put together an entire coordinate, but I got a couple pieces to start, and I kind of started mixing and matching and see what would go together, and I was just kind of trying everything on at home after work. Some of the OPs and the jumpers that I got at first from Bodyline included the playing card OP in pink. I also got this jumper skirt with an Alice print on the bottom. I believe it was purple and blue, and I thought it was really cute, and I did like Alice motifs at the time. I was kind of leaning more towards pinks and colorful prints when I was first getting into the fashion, pretty much anything that was sweet. I did buy a couple gingham jumper skirts, so I could have made some country coordinates. However, I didn't really get any of the accessories or matching items to put together a proper country coordinate, so everything I was wearing at the time was kind of leaning more towards sweet. About a month after I bought my first pieces from Bodyline, I went on to my Lolita dress and I bought a Classical Puppets bell-shaped petticoat, as well as some heart buckle shoes from Antina, and I also bought a blouse. In hindsight, the blouse was a size S and I probably should have gotten a size M because I thought that I did fit the measurements for S, but I just didn't really think about how comfortable it would be. And so the items arrived, the shoes fit, and the petticoat was really nice, and the blouse was a bit small, so I ended up not wearing that so much. So I started trying on mostly the OPs and things like that, since I didn't really have a very good blouse to wear at that time. So I had all the main pieces for a coordinate together, and I would usually dress up in Lolita to go run errands or to go to the grocery store, and I kind of just started wearing it out of the house a little bit more. I was surprised at how fairly comfortable the fashion could be, and I really liked wearing it out, so I decided that I wanted to commit and get some more Lolita pieces. I started looking on Lace Market for the first time for some secondhand brand pieces, and I settled on Angelic Pretty's Jewelry Jelly, the jumper skirt version, in black. I found it for a good price, and it came with the matching head bow and black socks. I didn't have any black items yet, but I did kind of like bittersweet, so I wanted to give it a try. So I bought the set, I got it no problem, and I started wearing this full set. And the next set that I bought was the Chest Chocolate OP in pink. I also got the matching bonnet, and I got some matching pink legwear with that. And I eventually started to wear those out, and I was also wearing Lolita when I was going out to see my friends, so I started wearing it a bit more often, maybe at least once a week or once every 2 weeks. I also went to my first convention wearing Lolita. I went to Otakon back in 2015, and I wore my Chest Chocolate OP set. I saw a bunch of other Lolitas that were at the con that year. There was a swap meet, so I was looking around at people who brought things to sell, and I bought a couple of secondhand accessories, and I also talked to a few other Lolitas, and they were very sweet and kind. And Otakon also had a tea party that year, so I decided to wear my Salon de the Rose set from Angelic Pretty. This was my first time going to a tea party, and yeah, I just remember being at that tea party and feeling really nervous because I didn't really have any Lolita friends at the time. It was just me, and luckily I did meet lots of other Lolitas that were interested in sweet and more OTT fashion, and I did end up seeing those same people at future events and meets in the area too. So I kind of was slowly meeting people and going to more events, and I did find out that there were actually 2 local comms in my area. So one was a bit farther than the other, but I would go to some of the more casual events and meetups that both of the communities held, and I did meet even more people there. And some of the people that I met at these meets I actually am still friends with to this day. We added each other on Instagram and Facebook, and once in a while we'll still talk. I started to go to more and more meets and tea parties, and I guess you could say I was officially part of some Lolita comms. And yeah, I never thought it would get to that point because I wasn't really sure at first if I wanted to wear Lolita more or not. And I also didn't even know that there was this huge social aspect of Lolita. After going to Otakon and that tea party, I realized that there is a big social part of Lolita, and I really wanted to make friends that were also involved in Lolita fashion, so I'm glad that I was able to be part of this. After about a year and a half of living in Northern Virginia, I moved back to Southern California. I joined a few of the local comms there, and I met even more people, and I started going to events regularly. And I can say without a doubt that when I moved back to Southern California that I was pretty confident with my coordinates, and I was putting together full coordinates and ones that I was really happy with. I think when I was living out on the East Coast, I was still kind of experimenting and trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. But when I moved to the West Coast, I think I would have considered myself a full-fledged Lolita at that point. And eventually I started hosting my own meets, and they were tons of fun. I think that back in 2008 and 9, it was still pretty rare to see Lolitas out and about, so I am glad that I was able to see them in person and that I was able to talk with them and find out more information about this fashion. Nowadays, I think it's a lot easier to find out about Lolita and find information on it compared to even 10 years ago. And there's a greater chance that you might even see people wearing it either online or in person, because it's a very popular fashion worldwide now. So I think more and more people are getting into the fashion, and that's wonderful. I do hope that more people can find out about this fashion and become a part of the community, whether it's part of their local comm or an online group. Don't forget to watch the other videos in this playlist if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video.